In our last lesson, we talked about ABA interventions being applied and effective. This means that they should target important behaviors where behavior change will lead to a meaningful improvement in a client's life. We sometimes refer to such behaviors as being socially significant. In short, socially significant behaviors are behaviors that can improve the life experience of an individual. This is a simple principle that should underpin the selection of every intervention. However, there are other factors related to ethics and values that also need to be considered. For example, similar to many other helping professionals, a first principle for ABA professionals is to do no harm. Social validity is a concept that is related to social significance. Social validity means that the goals, procedures, and results of an intervention are socially acceptable to the client, the behavior analyst, and society. One of the differences between social significance and social validity is that social validity places a strong emphasis on the acceptability of behavior change procedures. ABA professionals and paraprofessionals should ensure that they do not use procedures that are harmful, degrading, painful or dehumanizing when attempting to achieve socially significant goals. Using procedures that are harmful, degrading, painful or dehumanizing leads to negative side effects for clients. This can be true even if a socially significant outcome is achieved. The third term that ABA uses when looking at goal and procedure selection is habilitative validity. Habilitation refers to the extent to which an individual's behavioral repertoire maximizes the overall benefits and minimizes the overall costs to an individual, those around them, and wider society. We identify the habilitative validity of procedures through practices such as combining consumer satisfaction reports with more objective forms of data, in order to detect the short and long-term impacts of interventions. Sometimes, we simplify the concept of habilitation to being a right to be taught the skills needed to live as independently as possible. However, it is important to note that an essential part of this is honoring somebody's right to choose and refuse. In short, we teach people how to be as independent as possible while also acknowledging the right to make unwise decisions. Another term that behavior analysts often use is quality of life. Quality of life is contextual. It is defined by the World Health Organization as individuals' perception of their position in life, in the context of the culture and value systems in which they live, and in relation to their goals, expectations, standards and concerns. Various frameworks are proposed for examining quality of life. We will take a look at one framework designed by Shalek and colleagues. Each domain within this framework relates to a person's human rights. Self-determination. When we talk about self-determination, we are talking about a person's right to make decisions. Emotional well-being. People have a right to safe and predictable environments that minimize stress or anxiety and which promote contentment. Interpersonal relations. This domain is about relationships with family and friends, and having supportive social networks. Material well-being. This area relates to safe housing, employment and housing security. Physical well-being. This domain addresses things such as diet, exercise and healthcare. Personal development. The personal development domain of the quality of life framework relates to a person's right to lifelong learning and authentic participation in meaningful activities. Rights and inclusion. This domain looks at how a person's rights are respected, the extent to which they are afforded dignity, and the extent to which they are included within society. Behavior analysts should consider any potential goal or procedure within the context of quality of life. We need to ask what impact potential goals and procedures might have on our clients' human rights. As you can see, selecting goals and procedures within ABA requires consideration of a variety of different factors and principles. Behavior analysts must always consider the social significance of goals, the social appropriateness of procedures and the social importance of effects. These considerations should include identifying both potential short and long-term risks or benefits, a person's rights and the research base regarding effectiveness. Consent from a client, or a client's legal proxy, is always required. In addition, impacts on those around the client and wider society also need to be considered. We need to be careful to ensure that we do no harm. Later in this course, we'll talk a little more about some concepts, rights, and principles that are particularly relevant when working with vulnerable people. Hopefully, this lesson has given you a broader understanding of what we mean by applied and effective within the context of applied behavior analysis.